Taking a break from his busy schedule of hand-washing and rewatching Tiger King. It's time for BSing with Big Nate.
Welcome into another edition of BSing with Big Nate. I am Big Nate, and the fun is rolling on this weekend. Of course, Friday we entered phase 2, and it only seems appropriate to talk about looking ahead, talk about things coming back to normal and progressing through all of that. And something that I think doesn't get considered a whole lot is, yes, we don't have live concerts, but with that, we also don't have killer concert photography. So I figured I would bring on the best concert photographer I know, Ambler of Out with Ambler. Thank you for joining me on this lovely day. How are you?
I'm doing good. Glad to be here, Big Nate.
Glad to have you. So I want to start, I guess, at the place this kind of all really started back on around March the 13th, I think it was. At least for me, that's where my perspective begins on the whole COVID-19 situation. But you're involved with a lot. You've got Out with Ambler, and I know you do a lot of different stuff. In fact, before we even go further with that, why don't you go ahead and tell everyone what all it is that you do?
Oh, my. Well, I do the Out with Ambler, which is concert photography, interviews, promotions, things like that. I love to support local bands, national bands, big bands. Got something new coming out, great coming out. I want everybody to know about it. I do the Out with Ambler, but I also have several other outlets that I do stuff for: Rock Titan, Music Television, Asgard, Internet Radio, Uncivil Revolt magazine, and a few radio stations here and there and other publications. So yeah, I'm spread about.
Okay, so if Howard Stern is the king of all media, I think it would be safe to say that Ambler's becoming the queen of all rock media.
I'll take that.
Because, I mean, it's weird. I've known you for a few years now, always running into you at concerts and stuff. It's weird to me how often you'll pop up in my newsfeed on social media, and it's not even something you posted necessarily. It's just, oh, Ambler did this, and then people share it, and it's like, hey, I know her. It's always really wild to me. But so your dynamic kind of shifted, at least I'm assuming. I don't want to put words in your mouth necessarily, but in March, when everything recreational kind of goes away, what kind of mindset did that put you in? What were you thinking?
Well, it was odd. Over the winter, I kind of had taken a little sabbatical. I'm like, I have worn myself plumb thin. I'm going to just chill a little bit. You know, with the holidays and everything, concerts were lightening up. And then, you know, the new year came in and all these major shows were announced. Major festivals, major tours, bands we never thought we'd see play live, bands we thought we'd never see play live together. And the whole world was just blowing up, you know, with 2020 is the year for shows. So I'm like, okay, I got my rest. This is going to be freaking amazing. We're going to get out there. We're going to kill it. And the first show I was really looking into getting into for the year was going to be Killswitch Engage in Raleigh. And that was actually on my birthday, March 15th. And then, bam, everything was dead in the water. It's like, what just happened? Craziness.
Yeah, I mean, it's been crazy. It's been rough. As someone who, like, live shows is what I do. I don't really go out to the movies very often. I don't go out and do a whole bunch. Live shows is kind of my thing. And for me, that's leisure. For you, that's an income source. It's also a source of material that for you on Facebook and your socials, and like, that's everything. That's kind of Out with Ambler. Was there a shift, like, in your brain? Did you, all right, well, I got to figure something out?
Well, first of all, let me correct you on something. That is not an income source. I make absolutely zero at this. Nothing.
Well, you should be.
I should be, yes.
Because you're quite good.
I do it all for the love of doing it. The love of doing it. So yeah, that is, even though it's a lot of work, like editing photos, doing the interviews, you know how it is, editing the interviews, getting them up, things like that. It's a lot of work, but it's for the love of doing it.
Well, I appreciate that. I like that a lot. I'm sorry about my misconception there. It's just,
I'll forgive
You do such a good job, and you do so much. I thought there's no possible way that's not.
She's not that stupid. She wouldn't do all that for
Well,
free.
no, I mean, if anything, that makes me have a lot more respect for you and for what you do. So I do appreciate that. But so on your Out with Ambler Facebook, you've kind of shifted, and there's been a lot of posts, a lot more community engagement. You're posting things like bands looking for vocalists. You're posting bands that are putting out new tracks that aren't necessarily on the radar. So how do you compile all this? Like, where are you going for your resources?
Well, I've got a lot of friends and a lot of bands, from little bands you've never heard of that might fill a small venue of 10 people to bands that are killing it on Octane right now, like Any Given Sin, for example, with their big song Dynamite, and now they have Insidious and things like that. So I've always got friends that send me things, people that reach out to me. Hey, Ambler, we just wrote this. Listen to it before we release it, and things like that. So it puts it on my radar. And if it's okay, it's okay. If it's somebody I love enough, even if it doesn't really knock me over the edge, I'll still share it for them. But if it really knocks me over the edge, I'm going to share the hell out of it and really push it. Besides that, I get bombarded in email by publicists for bands, mega level bands down to smaller bands. And I kind of started weaning off of publishing a lot of their stuff over the winter as I was kind of taking my little sabbatical. And I need to get more back into that. But yeah, I've kind of looked at it like this. With the slowing down and not being able to do the concert photos, I could still do some telephone interviews with artists, but I'm going to continue my little bit of leisure. So when all this is back to normal, and I don't agree with new normal, no, we're going to have back to our normal. When all this is over, I'm going to be just fully ready to hit it. So I get it from sources all over the place for what I put up.
So you're saying that you get contacted by these publicists and stuff. Is there anything coming down the line, coming up over the summer, towards the end of summer, as we're in phase 2 right now and looking forward to the future and hopefully very, very soon being, like you said, back to normal? Is there anything that's on your horizon, dates you've got penciled on your calendar, like I've got to be somewhere here this day?
Right now, the only thing that I have on my calendar, because everything is just so crazy up in the air, is Blue Ridge Rock Festival. The promoter for that is making as sure as he can that this thing goes off, and it goes off well, and we're crossing our fingers and we're praying to all the rock and metal gods that everything goes as planned. But the festival is still on, and that's honestly the only thing that is on my calendar at this point. But right now, right as we speak, had COVID not hit, I should be covering a most awesome smaller festival in Pipestem, West Virginia, Metal in the Mountains. That was going to be a good 3.5 day festival. I thought I was going to be out there photographing, interviewing, having a great time with my rock and metal family. But no, I'm hanging out with you today, Big Nate.
Well, I appreciate you hanging out with me. My follow-up question is, Blue Ridge is the only one, like you said, it's the only one on the calendar that I've seen. I've heard of a couple of live shows even coming up in July, smaller shows, usually at places like breweries and stuff. But I got to wonder, at what point do we just say enough's enough? We're not prisoners. Like, we got to have fun.
I was actually thinking about that yesterday afternoon. I'm like, the rock metal music scene, we're kind of renegades. We're generally not the fall in line and do what you tell us to do crowd. And we're a crowd that thrives on the interaction with our other metal family. And what was occurring to me yesterday was, I think if they were to keep these confines on us, I think it would just be a matter of time before people just start having shows anyway and say, you know what, do something about it. And then it'll just open all back up. Because what are you going to do? It'll be a revolution.
It's one of those things, you can't arrest all of us. That's going to take
That's
a
right.
lot of power. No, yeah. I get that exact same mentality, and it's something that I've considered. One thing I'm seeing, particularly in countries, bands are starting to announce drive-up concerts.
Mm.
And I don't know if you think about metal shows the way I do, but it just seems like that would lead to a demolition derby.
Exactly. The mosh pit is a demolition derby, and no, not my car. No.
No, I think like that would be a liability concern, but something's got to happen because we've got to get shows back. Music is, for you, I know, very important. For me, it's very, very important. It's what I do, literally both for work and pleasure. I do want to speak to you about something. I talked about it on air, and it was another one of those things where it popped up in my news feed, and then I looked who shared it, and I was like, "Oh, Ambler, I got to ask you about this." So, Rat, back in the top 20.
Isn't that amazing?
After all these years, all it took was probably one of my favorite commercials I've ever seen since their one with Ice-T, where he's like, "It's lemonade." But if you're a band like Rat, who, I mean, I love Rat. I saw them, it was probably about 2006. Phenomenal show. Great band, underappreciated. What do you think the perspective is there to this track just won't die? It's not, it's one of those things where that is their song. Everyone goes round and round, Rat. You know it. They've got so many other great tracks. Do you think you go into a commercial like that, like, oh man, it's a paycheck? Or do you hope like, hey, this doesn't get us back on the charts?
They probably had a little bit of that in their mind. I mean, that would just be my guess anyway. I mean, it's definitely a track that won't die. Rat's a band that won't die. Thank God for that. You know, they're always touring. A good friend of mine is actually personal security to their lead singer when they're out on the road. But yeah, I think it's amazing that this has happened for them with that top 20 after all this time. And one of the things you may have seen me post about on a few occasions is the music should be, I mean, music should be a lot of things, and music is a lot of things. But you think about a song like Round and Round. When that song comes on, you're going to have it playing and you're going to be jamming out to it, and you're going to forget for 3 minutes and a half everything going on in the world today. And that's my favorite type of music. Music that is escapism, not music that makes you think about, oh, this is awful, this is terrible. I mean, that's great if that's what you like. But me, yeah, round and round.
It's such a fun song. So, I mean, Rat's a really fun band, and it's kind of amazing. I didn't even think, I guess I have like an almost like animal instinct with it, is anytime that commercial comes on, that song gets stuck in my head. Yes. And I'm not even mad about it. It's just something so positive and so much fun.
Exactly.
Another thing I got to ask you about, because music is a focus. What albums are you most looking forward to this year? Since we've had all of our albums delayed for some reason.
I don't know that I really have one that I'm most looking forward to, but what I am looking forward to is the creative process that comes out of all this touring downtime for the artists. I just can't wait to see what develops from it. Who knows? Maybe a style will evolve from it.
We'll call it COVID rock.
Oh God.
That's something that's stuck out to me throughout all of this is how, I mean, granted, musicians are naturally very creative. You really don't become a musician if you don't have a creative bone in your body. That's just a fact. But it's impressed me how creative bands have gotten, whether it's live streaming old shows from their archives, live streaming, you know, just screwing around with their instruments and you know, giving that access. Or I've even seen bands doing Zoom hangouts with other bands and posting the video, Zoom hangouts with fans. And I got to wonder, is that something that we're going to keep up after the fact? Like, will we still have that accessibility? Because it's something that I've really appreciated and I think needs to keep going. But
I feel like we will. I mean, maybe not to the extent that we have now because time-wise, but I know that people that I'm close with in particular, they love that connection to the band members. And something that a lot of my friends have truly agonized over not having right now is meet and greets. Those paid meet and greets with bands. And I think that that is something that's going to resume, but it's going to be a little different. And I could even see maybe opening up more to a Skype paid meet and greet, band members to one-on-one with fans. So it's going to evolve, but it's going to be different.
Have you heard what Billy Idol's doing? One of the things he's doing is that basically people are having to move their weddings online. They're doing Zoom weddings. Well,
Okay.
Billy Idol's got it. It's similar to like a meet and greet package, but it's if you reach out to Billy, you pay whatever the fee is, and he'll be your best man at your Zoom wedding.
Oh, wow.
So you
that
just
is
got Billy
amazing.
Idol chilling out as your best man. And I got to be honest with you. If I have to choose Billy Idol or the person I chose as my best man, love you, Daniel. But it's
But,
going to
you
be Billy Idol all day long.
Daggone straight it will. Daggone straight it will.
I've been chatting with Ambler of Out with Ambler. Go ahead and tell them where they can find everything you're involved with.
Well, Out with Ambler on Facebook, Out with Ambler on Instagram, and then the other outlets if you want to check out my work and some other great work, other photographers, other journalists, Rock Titan Music Television. You will find some amazing interviews from Scotty J on there. I mean, just killer interviews. Asgard Radio and Uncivil Revolt Magazine.
Excellent. Thank you so very much for joining me today, Ambler.
Thank you, Big Nate.